It's hard to forget the 14th of February of the year 2018. But I wanted to spend the brief time we had to talk about it here today to focus on what has happened since that day, and in particular the extraordinary work of some of the parents of those children who lost their lives on that tragic day, because they've turned their pain into activism in ways that have had concrete and meaningful impact. One in particular is Max Schachter and his family, who, as they dove into this, realized that there was no place where school districts could go and learn about the best practices for how to safeguard a school, or any facility for that matter. The previous administration, the Trump administration, took executive action on it, and today there exists a clearinghouse that I hope we can put into statute through the Luke and Alex School Safety Act to make it permanent. And it has become a resource where schools across the country are now able to, on an ongoing real-time basis, see whether what they have in place is the highest standard and the most effective, and every time there are improvements, it's updated. And it's had a meaningful impact. There are schools across this country that have vulnerabilities they didn't recognize. And those vulnerabilities aren't just about physical hardening of buildings and so forth. It's about identifying and getting ahead of these problems. Sadly, what we learned from many of these tragedies is that well before that day, there are clear signs that something is about to happen at that moment. But also to remember how these brave American families have since that day taken their pain and turned it into action. And that today, across this country, many of our schools are better positioned to prevent this from ever happening to anyone else because of what they've done with this tragedy. And I wanted to take this moment today to commemorate and recognize their hard work and the work they and other families are doing, not simply to raise awareness, but to spur real concrete action that makes a meaningful difference.